She thought her beauty could break a home, and she almost succeeded. But when the wife she tried to destroy stood tall and unbroken, the game changed forever. This is not just drama. It's a lesson you'll never forget. Stay with me till the end. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more powerful true life stories. The buzzing streets of Suilia had always been Adaeze's training ground. Growing up in a one-room face-me-I-face-you compound, she had learned early that poverty was merciless. Her mother sold a car at the roadside, her father a carpenter who barely made enough to feed them. Adaeze's beauty, however, was a flame that drew attention from childhood. Big eyes, smooth dark skin, and a confident sway in her walk. She quickly realized her looks were not just blessings but weapons. While her peers dreamed of school certificates and office jobs, Adaeze told herself, "Why struggle for peanuts when I can dine where kings eat?" She studied women who climbed from nothing to everything by attaching themselves to wealthy men. She mimicked their style, copied their accents, and practiced charm in front of her cracked mirror. Her breakthrough came when she got a job as a hostess at one of Lagos' most glamorous event halls in Victoria Island. Here, politicians, CEOs, and billionaires gathered in fine suits and lace gowns. Adaeze's heart burned with ambition. This was a battlefield. It was at a glittering charity gala that she first saw him, Chief Obinna Nwankwo. The man was magnetic, broad shoulders, expensive agbada embroidered with gold, laughter that carried authority. Around him swirled powerful men and women. But Adaeze noticed one detail. Though his wife Ngozi sat by his side, his eyes occasionally drifted away, restless. Adaeze's lips curved. A restless man was an opportunity. She didn't rush, didn't approach. Instead, she passed his table slowly with her tray, making sure her perfume lingered, leaving only the faintest smile behind. Enough to spark curiosity. Enough to plant herself in his mind. That night, Chief Obinna drove home with Ngozi, but his mind replayed the image of the confident young hostess who carried herself like a queen among servants. A week later, fate, or rather Adaeze's strategy, brought them face to face. She had studied Obinna's movements through whispers among staff. He frequented the Eco Hotel lobby for meetings. Adaeze positioned herself perfectly, pretending to stumble with a tray of wine as he passed. "Oh, Chief Obinna," she exclaimed with practiced surprise, bowing slightly. "Forgive me. Lagos people talk about you, but I never imagined I'd meet you twice in such short time." Her voice was respectful yet warm, her eyes shimmering with admiration. Obinna chuckled, his pride stroked. "You know me?" he asked, amused. "Who doesn't?" Adaeze smiled, leaning closer. "Your generosity built schools. Your name commands respect. To meet such a man twice, it must be destiny." Her words were blades dipped in honey. Obinna felt taller, stronger. They spoke briefly about the gala, about charity, about Lagos' endless traffic. Before Ngozi appeared, Adaeze excused herself, melting back into crowd. That night, Obinna thought of her again, telling himself it were harmless. But Adaeze knew she had planted a seed. She had turned admiration into curiosity, curiosity into attraction. The game had begun. Adaeze was not a woman who left things to chance. She found Obinna's contact through one of his drivers, whom she charmed with small gifts. Days later, she sent a message. "Good evening, Chief. Thank you for your kindness at the gala. I hope your wife enjoyed the evening too." The mention of his wife disarmed him. It felt innocent, respectful. He replied with thanks. But Adaeze knew men like him. Soon their texts grew longer, more personal. Late-night chats about stress, his heavy responsibilities, his dreams of freedom. Adaeze listened, responded with just the right mixture of sympathy and admiration. "You deserve someone who sees a man, not just a name," she once texted at 1 a.m. Obinna's heart stirred. Words Ngozi never said because she believed her husband needed truth, not flattery. The next week, Obinna invited her to a quiet restaurant in Ikoyi. Over soft music and dim lights, she leaned forward, her hand grazing his, laughter spilling like wine. That night, Obinna felt alive again, like a man who still had charm, who still had choice. Adaeze left with a gift, a gold necklace. More than that, she left with victory. The fish had swallowed the bait. From then on, the affair unfolded like a storm. What began as secret lunches became hotel rendezvous in Victoria Island. Expensive perfumes, designer handbags, and weekend trips disguised as business meetings filled Adaeze's life. She gloated to her friends, parading her spoils. "Chief is different," she told them. "Soon, I'll be the one sitting in his mansion." She wasn't just a mistress. She believed she was destiny. Each time Obinna held her, she felt her power deepen. She crafted herself as his escape, the woman who soothed his ego, the one who made him laugh. But in Ikoyi, Ngozi sat alone in the luxurious mansion, studying her husband's late nights, his new cologne, the faint lipstick stains on his shirts. Ngozi was no fool. She didn't scream, didn't weep. Instead, she watched with eyes sharpened by intuition. The battlefield was quietly forming. Ngozi had always been a woman of dignity, a devoted mother of two, a lawyer by profession, and the silent pillar of Obinna's empire. People called her Omalicha, the beautiful one, not just for her face but for her grace. But now, her instinct screamed. Her husband was slipping away. She noticed the way he avoided her gaze at dinner, the sudden trips, the fake smiles. Instead of confrontation, she gathered her strength. She began making discreet inquiries. A driver here, a friend there. Whispers carried the truth. Obinna was seen with a young woman in Soyulir, then at luxury hotels. The pain cut deep, but Ngozi refused to crumble. One evening, she confronted Obinna gently. "Obinna, are you happy with me?" He froze, fumbling for words. "Of course, Ngozi. Why ask?" Her calmness unsettled him more than accusations would. That night, as Obinna turned restlessly in bed, Ngozi lay awake, her heart bleeding but her resolve firm. She would not fight with tears. She would fight with quiet strength. Adaeze thought she had won, but a storm was coming, one that would prove that no seduction, no matter how powerful, could break a woman who stood unbroken. The Nwakoi mansion in Ikoyi stood like a palace, high gates, marble floors, expensive cars. But inside, cracks had begun to show. Obinna's laughter grew forced, his excuses frequent. He often claimed business meetings kept him late, but his phone remained glued to his hand, buzzing with secret messages. Ngozi noticed everything. The missed family dinners, the coldness in his eyes, the unfamiliar perfume clinging to his clothes. She didn't lash out. Instead, she grew quieter, her silence pressing down on Obinna like a weight. One evening, she placed his favorite soup before him. He tasted it distractedly, scrolling his phone. Ngozi leaned back, watching. "You've been restless, Obinna. Something troubles you." He looked up, startled, then quickly smiled. "Work stress, Ngozi. Nothing more." But deep down, guilt clawed at him. Her calmness unsettled him more than accusations. As he excused himself, Ngozi whispered inwardly, "If the foundation of a house shakes, the wife will know before anyone else." Meanwhile, Adaeze flourished in her new role as Obinna's mistress. She paraded around Lekki in designer heels, carrying handbags worth more than her mother's entire store. She bragged to friends. "Do you know what it means to dine at Sky Restaurant with a man like Chief? He doesn't just give me gifts, he gives me status." Her ambition grew bolder. No longer satisfied with secret tries, she began pressuring Obinna for more. "When will you stop hiding me?" she asked one night at a Victoria Island hotel. "I want to sit in the front seat, not the shadows." Obinna hesitated. He enjoyed Adaeze, but he wasn't ready to risk his empire. "Patience," he soothed. "These things take time." Adaeze pouted, but her eyes gleamed with hunger. She wasn't after patience. She was after Ngozi's place. In her mind, the wife was already irrelevant. But what Adaeze didn't know was that Ngozi was quietly gathering strength, preparing to face her not as a broken woman, but as an unshakable force. Lagos society has no secrets for long. The whispers began in hushed tones at salons, boutiques, and Sunday after-service gatherings. "Have you heard about Chief Obinna and that Soyulir girl? They say she's younger than his first daughter's babysitter." Man in their weakness. I pity Madame Ngozi. Adaeze, blinded by pride, enjoyed the gossip. She liked the attention, even the disapproval. It meant her name was on people's lips. She strutted into restaurants with Obinna, knowing eyes followed. But gossip is a double-edged sword. Ngozi's friends soon brought the whispers to her, some with pity, others with scorn. Instead of reacting with tears, Ngozi smiled calmly. "Let them talk," she said. "The truth always comes home." Her composure baffled her friends, but inside, Ngozi's heart burned. She would not allow Adaeze to dismantle her home. She was preparing her move, not in rage, but in dignity. Ngozi began her own quiet investigation. She befriended the drivers, the staff, even a hotel receptionist who once worked for her cousin. Slowly, piece by piece, the truth unfolded. Hotel receipts with Obinna's name. Late-night pictures taken by gossip bloggers. Messages Adaeze sent filled with heart emojis and demands of money. The evidence was undeniable. Ngozi sat one evening in her study, staring at the papers. Her hand trembled, but not with weakness, with resolve. Instead of confronting Adaeze directly, Ngozi chose patience. She studied her rival, learning her habits, her arrogance, her blind spots. "Power built on beauty fades," she whispered to herself, "but a wife's strength stands in storms." That night, she looked at Obinna differently, not with tears, but with a fire that unnerved him. He didn't know she held proof. He didn't know she was waiting for the right moment to strike. The moment came at another high society gala. The hall glittered with chandeliers, flowing gowns, and Lagos elite. Adaeze, dressed in a daring anchor gown stitched with sequins, entered on Obinna's arm, bold and defiant. She wanted the world to see her, to whisper her name louder. But Ngozi was already there. She entered with regal calm, her lace gown a masterpiece, her head tie towering like a crown. She walked with such grace that the whole stilled. Obinna froze when he saw his wife. Adaeze smirked, expecting Ngozi to break down in shame. Instead, Ngozi crossed the hall, greeted her husband warmly, then turned to Adaeze. "You must be Adaeze," she said softly, her smile radiant. "I've heard much about you." The words weren't an outburst. They were a blade wrapped in silk. The room gasped. Whispers erupted. Obinna's face burned with shame. Adaeze's confidence faltered. Ngozi stood tall, her presence louder than any scandal. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She simply stood unbroken before her rival in the world. That night, everyone left the gala whispering the same thing. Madame Ngozi is a woman no one can shake. After the gala confrontation, Chief Obinna could no longer hide behind excuses. His wife's calm acknowledgement of Adaeze burned into his soul. For the first time, he felt shame rather than excitement. At first, he tried to continue as before, secret meetings, late-night calls. But Adaeze grew restless. She demanded more. A house in Lekki, a car registered in her name, promises that he would leave Ngozi. One night at a hotel, she snapped, "Obinna, I am not a toy. Do you think I'll stay hidden forever? Your wife can't give you what I give you." But Obinna no longer heard sweetness in her voice, only desperation. Her charm now felt heavy, her demands endless. His mind drifted back to Ngozi's composure at the gala, her unshaken dignity. For the first time, Obinna began to question if he had been chasing a mirage. Adaeze noticed the change. She saw it in his distracted eyes, the hesitation before answering her calls. The tide was turning, and she felt it slipping through her fingers. Ngozi chose a moment carefully. She didn't scream. She didn't fight in private shadows. Instead, she let the evidence speak for itself. At a family gathering hosted by Obinna's elder brother, Ngozi arrived dressed in gold lace, carrying quiet power. When asked to give a toast, she spoke gracefully about loyalty and family values. Then, with elegance, she placed hotel receipts and pictures on the table. "My husband has been distracted," she said softly, her eyes locking on Obinna. "But I believe the truth, when exposed, heals faster than lies." Gasps filled the room. Obinna froze, humiliated. Relatives stared in shock. Adaeze's name echoed like a curse in whispers. That evening, society returned home carried the story. Guilt weighing like a stone. Businessman Chief Obinna caught in scandal, mistress exposed, maybe even divorce papers. Adaeze, instead, once boss he found Ngozi and now found herself seated with calm authority. Insults, Obinna, and judgment poured from social media. Her
You
friend
broke our
stopped
vows,
answering her calls.
but understand
the mask
this,
had been ripped
your
off.
betrayal wounds
and
me,
Ngozi had
yet
done it
will
without
not
raising
define
her
me.
voice.
I am more than your mistakes. Her words hit harder than anger. Obina's knees nearly buckled. He fell before her, begging, Ngozi, please, don't leave me. I was blind. Forgive me. She didn't reply immediately. She let silence cut deeper than any insult. Then she spoke. Forgiveness is not cheap. You must earn it. And until then, you will live with the weight of your choices. Obina wept. For the first time in years, he felt small, not because of Adaeze's seduction, but because of Ngozi's unshaken strength. Adaeze's world crumbled fast. Landlord began asking her questions she couldn't answer. Who truly paid her rent? Friends who once admired her now laughed behind her back. In clubs, whispers followed her. That's a girl who thought she could replace Madame Ngozi. Furious, she stormed into one of Obina's offices in Lekki, ignoring the shocked staff. She cornered him in his glass office, voice trembling with rage. If you leave me, I'll destroy you. Do you hear me? I'll go to the press. I'll ruin your name. Obina, once captivated, now saw her clearly. She wasn't the goddess he imagined. She was desperate, clinging, powerless. He dismissed her coldly, security escorting her out. Outside, Adaeze collapsed into tears. The powerful seductress of Soyulir was gone, replaced by a woman society now mocked. She realized too late that beauty without wisdom is a curse. Adaeze's final humiliation came in public, at a wedding of a mutual friend. She arrived uninvited, desperate to reclaim her relevance. Dressed in a shimmering gown, she strutted in, only to find herself ignored. Obina sat beside Ngozi, holding her hand openly for the first time in months. Guests greeted Ngozi with admiration. You are truly a woman of grace. You've shown strength we all envy. Adaeze attempted to approach their table, but conversations died as eyes turned coldly toward her. One woman whispered loud enough for all to hear. Some women think they can steal crowns, forgetting a crown fits only the rightful queen. Humiliated, Adaeze fled the hall. Her once powerful seduction had collapsed before the very society she wanted to conquer. She was now a cautionary tale, her name a symbol of failure. Back at the mansion, Ngozi sat tall, unbroken. Obina held her hand tighter, fully aware of the treasure he had nearly thrown away. The scandal had rocked Chief Obina's empire. Business partners looked at him with less respect. Society blogs still buzzed with his name, and whispers trailed him at every boardroom. For the first time in years, Obina felt small, not because of money or power, but because of guilt. One evening, he returned to his mansion and found Ngozi in the garden, reading beneath the glow of a lantern. She looked serene, as though untouched by the storm. He fell to his knees before her. Ngozi, I beg you. I was a fool. I let my pride blind me. You are my wife, my strength. Please forgive me. Ngozi didn't look up immediately. She let the silence burn him before answering. You asked for forgiveness, Obina, but forgiveness is not begged. It is earned. Trust once broken takes time to rebuild. Her words pierced him deeper than a sword. For the first time, Chief Obina wept openly, his tears soaking the earth. He knew then that Adaeze's seduction had given him nothing but emptiness, while Ngozi's quiet strength was worth more than any empire. Ngozi knew the world expected her to either explode with rage or walk away. But Ngozi was not a woman who lived by the world's expectations. She carried herself with grace even as her heart bled. Instead of rushing to forgive, she set conditions. Obina must cut Adaeze off completely, restore transparency in his business dealings, and attend marital counseling with her. If you want this home, she said, then prove you are worthy of it. Obina agreed without hesitation. He fired Adaeze's accounts, closed the apartment he had secretly rented for her, and gave his staff instructions never to grant her access again. He humbled himself in therapy, listening as counselors unraveled his weaknesses. Ngozi watched, not with softness, but with steel. She had not forgotten the betrayal, but she was willing to see if a man could truly change. Her choice was not to destroy her marriage, but neither was it to ignore her pain. It was to rebuild on her own terms. While the Nwokois rebuilt, Adaeze lived in silence. The glamour was gone. Her once lavish lifestyle had ended, the cars and designer bags reclaimed. Friends who once envied her now avoided her like a plague. Landlords demanded rent she couldn't pay. Sitting alone in her small circular apartment, Adaeze stared at the cracked mirror that once reflected her pride. Now it reflected regret. For the first time, she saw herself not as a queen, but as a girl who gambled with her beauty and lost everything. She remembered her mother's warnings. Beauty without wisdom is a curse. A woman who builds on another woman's tears builds her own grave. Tears streamed down Adaeze's face. She realized too late that true power wasn't in seduction, but in dignity, the very thing she had mocked in Ngozi. She had destroyed herself chasing what was never hers. Months later, in a quiet ceremony at their mansion, Obinna and Ngozi stood before close family and a pastor. It wasn't a grand display for society. It was private, intentional, and intimate. Obinna held her hands with trembling humility. Ngozi, I vow never again to break the trust that holds us. You are my queen, my anchor, my pride. Ngozi's voice was calm, steady. Obinna, I vow to walk with you, but not behind you, not anymore. If you stumble again, remember this day, for it is a day I choose to give us a second chance. Tears filled the eyes of her children and family. The marriage had been wounded, but it had not died. Through Ngozi's unbroken strength, it had been resurrected. For society, it became a story of scandal turned into testimony. For Ngozi, it was proof that her dignity was stronger than seduction. The story closed not in noise, but in reflection. Ngozi stood on her balcony overlooking Lagos at dusk, the city lights flickering like stars. She had endured betrayal, humiliation, and whispers, yet she stood unbroken. Her friends often asked, "How did you do it? How did you survive what would have destroyed many women?" Her answer was simple. Strength is not in shouting or in tears. Strength is in knowing who you are, even when the world tries to shatter you. Adaeze faded into obscurity. People no longer mentioned her name except as a warning. A tale mothers told their daughters about the emptiness of chasing another woman's crown. Chief Obinna changed too, more humble, more present, more aware of the gift he had almost lost. But the true crown rested on Ngozi's head, not because of wealth or marriage, but because of her resilience. And so, the story ends with the ultimate truth. Seduction may shake a home, but a wife who stands unbroken becomes unshakable.